All right, so it is 12 o'clock and we'll get started. Um, Welcome to the Personal Leaders and Knowledge Leaders Information Session. My name is Nancy Buschert. I manage these programs that Continuing Education delivers in collaboration with Human Resources Services. This session is being recorded and will be shared on the program website in a few days. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat, and you should be able to access that if you hover your cursor over, I think it's the bottom of your screen, you'll see the Zoom dashboard, and there should be a chat option for you there. I would request that you keep your microphone muted unless you're asking a question. We will be joined by two past program participants for the question and answer period at the end of this short presentation. So you will have a chance to hear about their experience and ask questions of them and also of me. So I'd like to start by clarifying employee funding options for programs that Continuing Education offers. On this screen, you can see how we categorize the different programs. Essentially, there are two types of funding streams. The first top section is programming that is funded by the university for personal growth and leadership development. Or actually, sorry, I got that mixed up. The first portion is for tuition assistance benefit. So employees have an individual tuition assistance benefit that they can steer towards these types of programs that Continuing Education offers. The bottom section here, university funded programs, these are programs that are entirely covered by McMaster University, and the focus of these programs is on personal growth and leadership development. So I want to emphasize that both of these programs, Personal Leaders and Knowledge Leaders, are funded by the university. There is no cost to you or to your department. All of our leadership programs are based on the university's 6 core leadership capabilities. They consist of observable abilities, skills, knowledge, and traits, which enable individual, team, and organizational success. Also, McMaster's leadership philosophy is that everyone is a leader because everyone can positively influence others regardless of their role or title. So these 6 capabilities and that leadership philosophy are embedded in all of our programs. So Continuing Education delivers programs for personal leaders, knowledge leaders, and strategic leaders. This diagram here shows that the different leadership levels within the university, and I've highlighted the definitions for personal leaders and knowledge leaders here. So personal leaders, you can see, are individual contributors who provide service or support and may supervise students. Knowledge leaders may be operational team supervisors or individual contributors or subject matter experts who regularly work with teams and may supervise students. And now we are going to take a look at the Personal Leaders program. So as I just mentioned, personal leaders are individual contributors who provide service or support and may supervise students. Employees from any employee group in a continuing position or a contractually limited appointment of at least 1 year are eligible to apply to this program. There's no waiting period. In the past, you had to complete your probationary period, and that is no longer the case. So as long as you are meeting the eligibility noted here, you're okay to apply for this program. The topics in this program include communication, teamwork, stress management and balancing priorities, taking a more intentional approach with regards to your career development, and building your professional network. So the Personal Leaders program is offered twice per year, typically in the fall and winter. Applications are currently open for our winter cohort, which begins in late March. The Knowledge Leaders program is designed for individuals, as I said, from any employee group who may have some supervisory responsibilities. They may be a professional or subject matter expert who regularly interacts with different stakeholders or teams. They may lead projects. So those are the types of roles or tasks within the roles that we consider a knowledge leader. Program topics include creativity, problem identification and solving, performance improvement, effective coaching, enabling a positive workplace culture, and building your professional network. Knowledge Leaders is also offered twice per year, usually in the fall and spring. We are running this winter cohort this year just to catch up because we did postpone last winter due to the pandemic. So the applications are currently open for this winter cohort, which starts February 24th. However, be advised that we will be announcing dates for a May-June spring cohort as well, if that fits into your schedule better. And the website will be updated later in February with those May-June dates. So in terms of delivery format, we have transitioned this program along with our other leadership and professional development programming from an in-person to a virtual online delivery format. We tested this out this past fall, and our first delivery of both the Personal Leaders and Knowledge Leaders programs in the new format was very well received. So we obviously gathered some nice feedback. We're trying to incorporate some of that, but it still proved to be a very engaging, useful, valuable learning experience for our participants. So as you can see here, the way these programs are structured, and both are the same. So for both programs, there are 5 3-hour live virtual sessions that we deliver via Zoom. The sessions are not recorded because there's a lot of interaction, there's a lot of breakout room activity, and part of the program requirement is that you basically engage in those activities and participate in the sessions. So recording doesn't really make a lot of sense for these programs. There would be too much to miss. The sessions are very interactive. While they are 3-hour long sessions, we do provide a couple breaks, and I think that the time goes by pretty quickly. We try to make them engaging using different activities, polling, breakout groups, chat, large group discussions, so the time does go by quickly. We also schedule with each program a few additional coffee break sessions with the facilitators. Those will be announced in our online learning platform, Avenue to Learn, but those are optional sessions, and it just is, the purpose of those is just to replicate that feeling of going up to the instructor at break time or at lunchtime when we used to have that ability during our in-person sessions. So the coffee break sessions, sometimes there may be a focused topic that they will look at, and in other cases it might just be an open come chat and talk through any questions you have about the program in general or assignments, that sort of thing. The online component is where we house, and that's using Avenue to Learn, we house all of the pre-work and or post-session follow-up in that area. And that may include things like readings, videos, reflection questions, discussion board posts. And on average, you can plan to spend 1 to 3 hours in Avenue to Learn before each virtual session. I would say it tends to be closer to 1.5 hour, 2 hour, but you'll see the course content is intended to be 30 hours total time. So it does tend to be on the lower end of that, more in the 1 to 2 hour target. So as far as workload and assignments go, these programs are certificate of completion programs. So we do require that contact hours are met, that there's some assessment of the learning through some different assignments or activities. Both programs are approximately 30 hours in length. So given that we've shifted to this virtual delivery, obviously it means some of that content that we require is delivered through Avenue to Learn in an online format. So if you've got 15 hours of the live virtual sessions, you can anticipate approximately 15 hours of Avenue to Learn work time as well. So some of the other activities in Personal Leaders, participants complete the True Colors assessment, and that's worked with throughout the program to kind of gain information about yourself and how you interact with others, and it also brings a lot of awareness in how others interact with you. So we find that to be a useful kind of tool for that program. We also have a partner job shadow or exchange. So participants get to learn about what happens in a different area of the university that might be of interest to them. In the Knowledge Leaders program, we use a different assessment tool. It's called the Learning Styles Inventory. And then we also have a different assignment. It's a problem-solving project. And the purpose of that assignment is for participants to actually apply learning concepts that are presented during the program to a real-world challenge that they're having. So participants actually scope out a project, test out some of the theories, practice with things that they're learning about through the program, and then they have an opportunity to receive valuable peer and facilitator feedback at the end of the program. And it's pretty amazing in such a short term of this program, which both programs last approximately 2 months. But even in that short time frame, participants achieve some pretty remarkable outcomes. So it's kind of neat to see that happen. Moving on to some of the program benefits, both programs, they really enable you and provide you with a supportive space to develop your leadership capabilities and to really spend some time looking at these things and looking at how best you can use some of those skills, some of those capabilities in your role at McMaster. As I mentioned, the individual assessments, they're provided to kind of inform your growth and development and also build awareness about what your strengths are and maybe why those might be strengths for you. Both programs definitely provide a really important feature of expanding your networks and developing cross-organization relations with others that you may not have come into contact with otherwise. And in some cases, you may find yourself in a cohort with a colleague from across the university that you actually do interact with on occasion. So it, again, strengthens that relationship. So it's a great way to meet other people within the university. There's also the idea of enhancing your relationship with your supervisor. Both programs utilize a learning transfer plan. It's a template that we have as part of the assignment where at least on 2 occasions, you're going to have a conversation with your supervisor so that they're aware of things that you might want to try out. And it just tends to open up some of that communication. Sometimes those relationships are already strong. Sometimes this process helps to strengthen them further. And sometimes if there wasn't a real strong relationship there, it's something that, again, kind of propels both parties into having some meaningful dialogue. Another benefit is you can earn a university certificate of completion suitable for framing. And then last, as I mentioned, is these programs are funded by the university. So there is no cost to you or to your department to participate. It's just having that agreement to enable you to attend these sessions and do that during the workday. So I am very happy to have Christian from Vice President Administration Office, who just completed the Personal Leaders Program, and also Erin O'Leary from Health Research Services. Erin just completed the Knowledge Leaders Program. Both both completed this past fall. So I'd like to invite them to share a short overview of their program experience. And then I'd like to open up the floor to questions. And I think at this point, we will begin with Christian, please. Thank you, Christian.
Sure thing. Thanks, Nancy. So Nancy said I'm a business analyst with Office of the VP Admin. I work mostly on a program called Uniform, which is an international benchmarking. I've only been with the university for just coming up on 3 years. So this year, my supervisor had suggested the Personal Leaders Program, and it was excellent. So we were the first cohort to be doing it online. The facilitation was excellent. I would say our time was extremely well used. There wasn't any fluff. So, we started on time, we finished on time consistently. They made the most of the online tools. Obviously, one of the benefits of a program like this is being able to network and get to know other people. And given the constraints of working online, I thought it worked very, very well. A lot of value in the content. They do a True Colors assessment in the Personal Leaders Program. I hadn't done that when I've done the Myers-Briggs type indicator before. I think any of those that you do, and even if you've done them before, they're still really valuable. The coffee sessions, still really worth attending. That's just, again, it's sort of a little bit more informal than the other times, and they were very valuable. I thought it gave me a much better understanding of McMaster's leadership philosophy and how they see leadership within the institution, coming from outside of university, getting a sense of what's important, including things like building community within the university. I think those are some interesting pieces. One of the biggest things I got out of it was more engagement with my manager. And the personal learning plan is a very valuable tool, I think. Certainly it was for me. And again, you get out of it what you put into it. So I will admit I probably took more time in preparation than was recommended or was sort of the standard. But I was putting that into the personal learning plan and really trying to apply where I could. Some great topics like appreciative inquiry, communication preferences, and so on. Virtual job shadow, where we got together with another person, and the person that I got together with to see their role was about as far away from where I am. I'm dead center in the university, and she's way out in a department. And we were actually opposite on the True Colors perspective. So really trying to get a sense of what is really different about our roles, but then what our commonalities were. Very, very worthwhile exercise. So I guess from my standpoint, it was an opportunity where it was a safe place to step outside my comfort zone, to engage with other people across the university, and to really work on some things personally. So yeah, highly recommend Personal Leaders, I guess, and happy to take questions afterwards, but I'll let Erin add her ideas.
Thanks, Christian. Erin, turn things over to you.
Thanks, Nancy and Christian. My experience, even though I was in a different program, my experience was very similar to Christian's. I took the Knowledge Leaders Program this past fall in the new online format, and found it to be very well managed, very well prepared, and very engaging, which was surprising when I went into the program because I wasn't sure what to expect. It provided a great deal of opportunity, in fact, to connect with the other individuals in my cohort, which again, I wasn't sure how that would be managed, but using the breakout rooms and giving us opportunities to do the coffee chats and things along those lines, I did manage to establish and grow my community network at McMaster, and built some friendships as well along the way, which always comes with these courses, which is wonderful to build that bigger network within the McMaster community. Like Christian, I put in a lot, so I got a lot. out of the program. So if you are willing to do that, you're going to get quite a lot out of this opportunity. In the in-class setup, I appreciated the materials and time to prepare ahead of each class. I've taken other continued education where everything happens in class. And I actually really appreciated this time to prepare my reflections and my understanding of a concept before engaging with my cohort and my fellow classmates on the topic. Because then I could take the amount of time I wanted to take, which was often a little more than was maybe prescribed, to really go into a topic and understand it fully. And I found my fellow cohort were equally as engaged in all of these discussions and became prepared, and it allowed for really engaging and high-level interactive discussions about the topics, which again, brought a high level of introspection to each of the concepts. I felt really prepared and ready to contribute for each of my classes. And I think that having that avenue to learn time, that separate time where you are dedicated to that learning, was part of that capability. In Knowledge Leaders, the culminating project is to take a project or a problem and solve it using the tools and techniques that we review in the course. And it was very valuable because this actually served my organization's needs. So ICES is the organization I work for, and it served that particular need. It was something we needed done, and it provided space to have that done, which I think is important because there's so many times when the projects or problems we have in our organizations or departments, they just get pushed off, they're not priorities, but it made it a priority and it forced us to give it space. And I think that was really valuable. I enjoyed the learning transfer plan, just like Christian did. I put a lot of time into it. And the reason why is because when I started the program, my manager had only been in for a month. So it was very new, and our relationship hadn't developed yet. And this course actually provided a lot of time for us to go over those learning transfer plans, to engage in the discussions about the topics that were around each class, and engage in career discussions right away, and have good discussions about what our working relationship was going to be and how we were going to navigate moving forward with this new manager dynamic. So it was really valuable in that way. Although a unique situation because my manager was new, I think if you have that same, you want to have that discussion with your manager and you maybe don't have that opportunity to have it, this course and the Learning Transfer Guide provides you that opportunity to have those discussions in a really open and safe space and in a guided way that helps you have very valuable discussions. So I got a lot from the course. I've taken a lot away and use it often. I use the tools that we were provided often. And I really do highly recommend the program. And I was pleasantly surprised by the virtual format, having done the continuing education in person before. I was happy to see how it was run and how engaging it was.
Thanks so much. Thank you both, Erin, Christian. I welcome any questions from attendees right now. This is a great opportunity. If you've got any burning questions that you would like to put out there, you've got myself as the program manager behind the scenes organizing everything and working with the facilitators. I can address your questions, and also Christian and Erin having gone through the programs in their most recent format. So I welcome you to put those into the chat, or if you would like to unmute and ask a question, that's perfectly fine as well. Okay, Delani, I see you've got some questions. You can either unmute and voice those or type them, whatever you prefer. Okay, so I'm seeing a question. about the time commitment for the project. So with regards to the Knowledge Leaders program, I'm gonna share just a thought about that, and then I'm gonna turn that over to Erin to respond to. But keep in mind that project is typically something that you're working on that is part of your already part of your work that you're doing within your department. So it really should be time well spent that, you know, gives you that opportunity to focus on a challenge or something that hasn't been running smoothly or hasn't been moving well. But I'll turn over to Erin to respond to the time commitment question about project.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the program outlines right at the beginning that the project does need to have a reasonable scope to be completed and or outlined within the timeline of the course. So there's a deadline when you have to submit a summary of the project and the work that you've done on it or what you are doing. So that does help pare down what it is you're looking to do. The project that we opted on was something that was really required for our organization. It really did need some dedicated time. So there was already built-in time into my work week to work on that project. So it wasn't in excess of what was already expected. It just provided an opportunity to really focus the thought process of the project and to be able to utilize new tools in order to make it more successful. But the problem existed already in our organization. So the solution or project to fix it was just part of the course. And the guidance was part of my learning plan or my learning discussions. So I wouldn't say it added anything to the 15 or 30 hours aside from here and there incorporating a tool that maybe I wouldn't have normally incorporated, but was happy to use in this particular instance. But again, for the scope of work, and I will say I chose a project that was too big. And in one of the courses, in one of the lessons, we actually pair off and someone talks to you, another person with an open mind, discusses the project with you and helps you focus your goal so that it can be done in the amount of time you require it to be done. It was really valuable. That was really good.
Thanks, Erin. Amy, does that kind of get to your question about project scope as well, hopefully?
Yeah, I think that was helpful to hear, and the guidance around sort of paring it down if it's a little bit too big. So thank you.
Great, thanks. So Delani asked about supervisors letting you take the 15 hours for the program, 3 hours per week. So the program is spread over 2 months. So the live virtual sessions are 9 a.m. to noon. So, you know, that's a total of 15 hours spread across 2 months. Part of the application is to get and obtain your supervisor's support. So I did mean to show you the website, and in the application process, both of these program pages are laid out similarly. There is a form. If you're unable to get a signature on the supervisor form, your supervisor can just email their statement of support basically for you to participate in the program. I mean, McMaster University is a learning organization. The university invests a great deal into the development of its employees, and so hopefully, I know not all supervisors may buy into that kind of philosophy, but you know, if you're able to identify ways in which this will enable you to grow in your role and, you know, support your department more effectively, more efficiently, you know, those are some of those conversations when you approach your supervisor that I recommend, you know, talking with them about openly. So hopefully, you know, everyone in the program in the past has had that support of their supervisor. We do send messages to the supervisor. We send a message at the beginning before the program even starts, just to kind of explain what's involved in the program. And then after each module, we do send a supervisor follow-up note that just highlights the key topics of that module, and also reminds them that they're expected to make themselves available to have those learning transfer conversations with you at least twice during the program. So hopefully that kind of covers the supervisor support question that Delani posed. I'm gonna keep scrolling through here. Megan asks if personal leaders is a prerequisite. No, not necessarily. Sometimes it turns out that individuals will start with personal leaders and then may end up applying for knowledge leaders the next year, sometimes even the next term, but they really are more role-based programs. So as I described what the university views as a personal leader and what the university views as a knowledge leader, that's kind of the target audience for these programs. Of course, if you are looking to grow your career and, you know, maybe you've been applying for knowledge leader type roles within the organization where you're dealing more with projects or teams or committees, then, you know, certainly make that case in your application questionnaire that's part of the application, and that obviously will be considered. Let's see, how does one decide which program would be best? Okay, so they are, hopefully, I don't know, Juliana, did that sort of respond to your question there, or is there a way I can make that clearer? Okay, I'll wait to hear or see if she puts something else in the chat. So as a professor, I don't really have a direct supervisor. We have chairs of the department, yes, but they are too busy to have multiple meetings for a learning transfer plan. Who do others in this situation use to fulfill this part? Maybe, you know what? We do have some professors. We've had some assistant professors in the program, and they have been able to navigate and facilitate that, even if it's you know, even if it's emailing correspondence back and forth about ideas and getting feedback and kind of having a written dialogue, that's an option. As another option, which we haven't really done before, but I suppose if you had a mentor in your role as a professor, that might be someone who you could, again, share your ideas, share your learning, how you intend to apply your learning in your role. That might be another way to fulfill that part. Still scrolling through here. Okay. Juliana, we can talk offline as well. So if you, any questions, you know, that I don't answer satisfactorily today, if you want to send me an email at the weareallleaders@mcmaster.ca, I can certainly work to bring more clarity around any confusion. Any other questions specifically for Christian or Aaron?
Yes, I do. Is it okay if I just jump in?
Yes, please do so.
So I was wondering because I may be interested for the personal one. Christian, do you have people reporting to you, like sort of like, are you a supervisor yourself already or not? Like, did that have made you a difference if taking that course? Like, do you have experience with like people reporting to you already?
So I do. That predates my time at McMaster. I have some students that I work with, but I don't have any direct reports at this time in this role. So that's not a critical piece to whether or not you can take on the Personal Leaders Program. Yeah, so in terms of my own personal role, no, I don't have any direct reports at this time.
And you didn't find that it would have been sort of like not beneficial because you don't? Because I'm in that situation. I don't have people reporting to me right now, except sometimes students. but I would like to be sort of getting into the training and the mindset of what's the next role, and would that next role be more of a leadership program, and that's why leadership role, and that's why I was considering this now, since especially like we're at home, and I was like, would I be left sort of find myself like left out, or maybe not ready for this course if since I don't have that experience.
I would say you're perfect for this course. That's exactly the situation that that they're trying to promote. People as individuals that we're even as an individual contributor, how can we leverage these leadership skills to create a better community, to create personal influence within an organization, and for the corporate or the collective objectives. So I think that's a perfect reason to be taking it, and you definitely wouldn't be left behind.
My busy time is August, getting ready for September. So we're going into the non-busy time. So I'm like, this might be the perfect time to sort of do it and not be too much bombarded while I'm on campus, because if I'm on campus, I'll be running around all over the place. So this might be a good time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you both. So Caitlin's got a question here about personal leaders. Is it right for me if I'm not supervising anyone? Absolutely. And another way to look at these programs is personal leaders, regardless of what your role is, even if you might be in more of a knowledge leader type role, these programs will benefit you greatly, just because personal leaders may be more focused on internally, like how you approach leadership, how you can build your own leadership, leading self, if you will, skills. So taking ownership, being accountable, those kinds of things. So even if you're not sure between the two programs what might be the best fit, I would say err on the side of starting with the personal leadership program. Knowledge leaders, again, gets more into working with stakeholders, identifying stakeholders, working with project teams. There's more of that communication, coaching, even if it's peer-to-peer coaching, some of those types of things, working on concrete problems, projects, challenges. So again, that's hopefully clarifies the difference between the two programs a little bit. Amy asked if these are limited enrollment programs, or is the application just used to determine if supervisors are on board. Given our virtual setting, they are limited enrollment, so we cap these programs at 20 participants. And so, there is still space in both programs. So it is, in some respect, it's first come, first serve, so long as you meet those eligibility requirements and that you've got your supervisor support and your own commitment stated. So I'm still looking through here. Yeah, thanks, Erin. Very good about the coaching and the subjects around leadership. Good. Okay. Any other questions? I think I've gotten to everything. If anyone else has a question that they'd just like to unmute, don't feel like typing because we do that all day. Okay. Again, if questions come up that you would like me to address down the road, please feel free to post those questions. I will say this, in the event that we do fill up both cohorts for the winter offerings, once you have applied, and say you've applied and you find out we're already filled for the winter, you won't need to apply again. If we approve and admit you, you will be able to register in a future cohort. So you won't have to go through that whole admission process again. The only thing we would ask at that point is just to reconfirm that your supervisor supports your involvement for that future term when we get there. All right.
Thing, Nancy?
Yes.
Just, I want to add to, and I'm sure Christian would say the same thing, that our teachers or the individuals who led the lectures, and Nancy as well, were just so engaged and so helpful and just really knowledgeable about so many subjects. I often use the coffee chats to talk about things that didn't necessarily get covered in class, but were just really great career information. I took them as a wonderful resource. So it's just a great opportunity to learn from some really knowledgeable individuals. And Nancy was just a brightness on a day with a coffee. It was lovely. So
Thank you, Erin. No, I agree. The two facilitators, the two primary facilitators in this program, and we have another guest speaker, and we bring in some panelists for personal leaders here and there. They are amazing. They both have such genuine, but slightly different kinds of warmth and energy about them. They balance well together. They work well together. They connect to make sure that they're on the same page. Everything's in sync. Everything is consistent in terms of messaging, and we're very fortunate to have them. They also are frequent teachers in our essentials programs. If any of you have taken any of the essentials programs, it's Linda Spence and Lori Stevenson are the two principal facilitators for both programs. All right. Well, once again, thank you again for attending the session. I hope that we see you in the winter cohorts, and if not winter, perhaps spring for knowledge leaders, or even next fall. So keep these program opportunities in mind. It's a great benefit that our organization provides for us as employees. And thank you to Christian and Erin for stepping in and sharing some of their experience as well. Everybody keep safe. Don't shovel too much snow today, and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, guys. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.